Today's post is a bit of a longer one, and it's an answer to a great question that a client asked at the end of the last session today. And her question was, once you've got the insight about your own patterning, how do you do the neural rewiring? Because otherwise we get stuck in these loops of repeating patterns from the past. And insight is only part of it. You know, you'll all have something where you understand your own patterns. I'm doing this thing again, and I understand how that got trained in, but here I am again. So we all had a situation in childhood where we weren't perfectly attuned to, where our needs weren't well enough met, where we weren't well enough seen and met by the environment. And we will have adapted to that in some way. We will have somehow shut ourselves down, our natural self, and become something of what the environment seemed to require of us, some kind of adaptation we needed to make. And it probably worked quite well in the home environment, but not so well later in life. So you all know the story and how that goes. But there's this thing called repetition compulsion, where we can find ourselves again and again in the same setup. How did I end up in this relationship again? How did I end up in this workplace dynamic again? This situation's all too familiar to me. I know it inside out and I need it to stop. How? How do I rewire beyond cognitive insight, beyond mental insight? How do I rewire my system? So it's got to do with having a really good mind-body connection going, mind-body awareness around the problem situation. What happens inside you in this particular situation? How does your physiology shift? Do you shut down? How does your breathing change? Does your posture, your muscles, does your body contract? Does it close? Does it tighten? Does it armor? So it's around having awareness of how your body responds when you find yourself caught again in that pattern. Then bringing your awareness to some medicine, something that's acting outside of the conditioned response. So if there's a friend who understands you and listens really well, or a therapist who does the same, or if there is a particular social group where you feel really free just to be who you are, be your natural self. If someone's able to speak some truth to you in a way that you feel really met and understood, take these things in. Slow down, replay them again at the end of the day. Take your breath on them and into them, and notice how your body shifts and changes around that. Stay with it for a while. Notice how your breathing changes. Notice what happens in your muscles and the way you're holding yourself. Notice how this medicine is received into your body and what your body does with it. And the more occasions, the more repetitions you can do this, the more deeply and wholesomely, fully and wholly, you can experience the medicine, receiving something from another or giving and receiving to yourself what was needed then but not available. The more repetitions, the deeper you do that, things start to really rewire. That becomes the new normal. And anything that sits outside of that is going to start to feel really uncomfortable, not right, not wanted, just off and not acceptable.